Thank you for joining me. I'm going to show you today a new concept about transitioning between view controllers using a UIStoryBoard Segue. Not only transition between view controllers, but also passing data between two view controllers. So basically what we need is to be able to send the data between view controllers, because a mobile application like an iOS application is going to be made of different features. Sometimes you don't want to put all the features together. You just need to have different view controllers and passing from one to another depending on how you have designed it. So if you go on the website of Apple, you have a good indication which is showing us UIStoryBoard Segue. The different features are explained there. So basically what it is telling us, it is that we can transition between different view controllers using a Segue, and we need to prepare a Segue to be able to transport the data from one controller to another. So we need to know how the other controller is and how it is expecting the data to be received. So we'll just go ahead and I'm going to minimize just that, and I'll go ahead and create a new project in Xcode. I click next and I call it navigation Segue. Click next and I do create a new project. Good. So by default, by creating a new project, we have a view controller with its class and the view controller on the main storyboard. We go ahead and find it. So we have our first view controller here. So basically what I need is to add a new view controller. I go ahead and click here and have view controller, and I just pull it and put it beside the first one. So I have now two view controllers from which I can navigate from one to another. So in order to differentiate them, I'm just going to go ahead, click on this view controller here, and I'm going to check it's basically what I need is to change the background color. Give it like this color here, so that when I move from one to another, I can just know that that has happened. I'll also create a button on the first view controller, which is going to trigger the event, which moves me from the first to the second view controller. I'm just going to go ahead and center horizontally and center also vertically it here, and I can just give it a new text and call it second view controller. Okay, so basically I'm here now. At this stage, if I run a test on my virtual simulator, let me choose iPhone 7 and go ahead and run it. So I have it somewhere here. So it will go ahead and give me the first page, but basically if I click on it, nothing is happening. So what I want to do is to be able to transition when I click on this button to go to the other view controller. So I'll go ahead and click on my button I've created, control drag it on the second. It's as simple as this. Now here I have the different actions. I will choose show, and immediately you can see here this arrow which is showing me the movement coming from the first to the second. So if I click on it and come here in the attribute identifier, it's good practice to immediately give it a name so that we recognize it when we are going to be trying to fetch it, because we can have different segues going to different view controllers for different reasons. So we call it show second virtual controller like this. I click on enter to validate this. Now at this stage I haven't written any code so far, but if I go ahead and test, I'm going to have now the first view controller, and if I click on it, good, now I'm having the second view controller coming. Now I'm just going to go ahead add the new element, because right now I'm unable to go back to the first view controller. I just come here and click on this first view controller, go on editor and embed in a navigation controller. Now here I immediately have a navigation bar, and you can see that now I have a back button, because this segue is transitioning from the first view controller to the second. I can click on back and come back here. So if I go ahead and test it, you can see that now I'm able to do this and then come back. So first thing is done. I'm able to transition from one view controller to another using a UIStoryBoard Segue. Second element now is going to be, I want to be able to send the data coming from this first view controller to the second view controller. I'll go ahead and create a label on this second view controller. I just dump a label on it, and I'm just going to pull it the same way I did the button. I want to center horizontally, center vertically. Let me just put the default text, and I call waiting for some data. Okay, good. So this one is going to be waiting for the data coming from here. Basically, if I do the test right now, I'm going to see the label I've just created, but it is still expecting some data which are not yet there. So how do I do that? I'll go back to my first view controller class and look for the prepare for segue method. Now here I'm able now to use my segue that I have created on the main storyboard here, and I gave it a name of show second VC. I just go ahead and copy it, bring it to the view controller, and then say if segue dot identifier equals this name I have created, I can go ahead and do some stuff here. So what I want to do is on this second view controller, I'm going to create a class which is going to handle the activities which are happening on it. So I create a new file here, and it's going to be a Cocoa attached class. It is to subclass a UI view controller to be able to handle that view controller of mine. So I call it second view controller. Click on next and create the class. So I have my class here. I go back to main storyboard and make sure that I have selected this view controller. I'll come here on the identity inspector and choose the class which I have just created, second view controller. Now I'm able to handle the elements and the activities happening here on this view controller. So what I want to do is to create an outlet for this label to be able to access it programmatically. So I will go ahead and do that. So I'll click, and I want to have this second view controller, and this is the second view controller, and I'll go ahead and have the main storyboard. I want to choose main storyboard, and yes, I have my second view controller here. Now I'll do the same, control and drag my label here, and I call it data label. Good. Now if I go ahead and try to access this, it will give me an error. I need to create a variable. Let me create a variable string called data, like this. At this level, I can go back to my first view controller. We'll do this for better visibility. Now I'll create, say, let second view controller. I can access it through the segue.destination, which I will need to cast as a second view controller this way. It's good practice to do an iflet here, not to force the casting. So here I can replace it this way, so that in case this does not happen, it does not crash my application. So now if I've got this way, I can now access my variable data and give it some new values. I can call them transferred data. I save. Now here on my second view controller, my variable data, I'm going to come here in the view did load and then say my data label, which has this outlet here, the text of this during the load, it is going to receive the data. Now remember, I have prepared this transition to happen, which means this data has got already the values that were supposed to be sent from this view controller. So I can go ahead and save this as well. Now if I do my testing here, I can have now the second view controller. Now if I click, you see I've got now transferred data here, which means it is coming from the first view controller to the second view controller. So thank you for watching this video. We've just learned a new approach to use when you are transitioning between